A few years ago, Arden and I picked up this bone stock E36 sedan. Having both grown up in the 90s, it was always a dream to recreate a touring car from the era. And what better platform to use than BMW's legendary 3 Series? The car needed absolutely everything to become track-worthy, and even though we had never done any build like this before, we were willing to learn and figure it all out along the way. We wanted to know what it was like to build a race car from scratch, and since we had already bought the car, we felt like there was no going back. If you want to catch up on the build so far, visit the playlist and watch every step of the entire process. In this video, we are finally taking out the abomination that is the automatic transmission. Arne is not straight. Wait, what?
Hey.
Welcome back to the garage. You would have seen in the previous video that we took off the exhaust, we took off heat shielding and a bunch of other stuff, and right now we are about to take off the drive shaft. We've removed our first part already, which is where it is. Where is it? I don't know where. Ah, here. Literally next to me. So it's this kind of, I don't know, rubber damper or something. I think it takes away the vibration of the gearbox and the drive shaft and what else, the whole drive line. I haven't really seen this in any of my technical sheets or technical drawings of the manual gearbox, because I've been looking at those a lot in order to order all the parts that we need. So I think this might be something specific to the automatic gearbox. Anyway, it's off. We're getting ready to take off the drive shaft, and obviously when that's done we can move on to the next step, which I don't know. I honestly don't know what it is. We're making stuff up as we go along, or just looking at stuff as we go along, but it's gonna be a fun evening, so let's get into it. So to give you an idea of how this all works, the back of the engine basically bolts directly to the gearbox, then the gearbox bolts to the drive shaft bolts to the differential bolts to 2 rear axles that go to rear wheels, and they actually make sure that the wheels can move from the power of the engine. So that's the entire drivetrain from the front to the back. Between the gearbox and the drive shaft there are these rubber flex discs, and they need to come off right now. And then when we've done that, we can take out the drive shaft, and then we can go to like the next bigger step. And we're coming very, very close to taking out the automatic transmission. So I think we should be able to do that this evening. That's kind of the goal. This is what we're looking at. That is a flex disc that Arne is working on right now. This in the middle here of the screen is the drive shaft, and yeah, there you have the rubber flex disc. Now this part is something which fails a lot on the E36. It's made of rubber, and a lot of cars suffer with tears in the rubber, because these flex discs do have to go through a lot. Obviously, when you're building a race car, you want to upgrade these kind of things, and we have found like a fully aluminum flex. Like, it's not a flex disc, it's called a gearbox or something like that. We found one that's made of aluminum entirely, so it cannot tear anymore, and it actually helps with transferring the power of the engine and the gearbox more quickly, more directly to the drive shaft, which is obviously a good thing, because there's going to be less delay on delivering the power to the rear wheels. It's only going to be very, very slight, but if we can make these kind of small differences throughout the entire drivetrain, then it might make a big difference overall. So these are like the small things that we're upgrading, and yeah, we hope that they make a small difference or a big difference. Well, that's done. Now we need to take off this bracket right here, which is behind Arne's hand at the moment. Arne, remove your hand, please. Yep, there you can see it. So 2 bolts that we need to undo, and then we should be able to take off the drive shaft. Make sure it doesn't fall onto your head.
No, I don't want to.
Well, you're fucked up anyways. It wouldn't matter that much.
It doesn't matter.
At least it wouldn't be a rock for a change. His brother threw a rock at his face when they were younger. And I need to hear about it to this day.
It's normal.
Well, those, did you undo them already as well? Because
Nope,
those
those
weren't
are pretty easy.
pretty loose.
Okay.
Yeah, lower it first, lower it first.
Yeah.
And then we go to the front. Just a little bit.
I think that's it.
Okay. You can come and try to. You can try and come to the rear.
Yeah, it will bend. So
Yeah, but that's.
it's I can get it out completely here.
Yeah, okay, that's fine too.
So drop it.
Oh yeah, okay, perfect.
And then
Yeah,
yes.
Support it for a little longer. Yeah.
Got it?
Yes. Well, that went quite smoothly. No real hiccups. I think it's crazy how much difference there is between the two drive shafts. Like I expected them to be the same. The one towards us, so this one is the automatic one and that is the manual one. So the manual one is a lot bigger, which probably means that the manual gearbox is a lot smaller than the automatic one, and hopefully also a lot lighter. If we can save some weight in the process, then that's only beneficial in my mind. So yeah, let's look at the next step and continue the work.
And because I can get my 18mm wrench, I can get it on the end of the nut without removing the cross member.
If you think we're professionals and we know how to do this stuff, not true. We're just watching a video of a guy doing the exact same and then we're doing it on our car. Status update, we are currently taking off the automatic transmission oil cooler. There's some ATF dripping out still. We disconnected the lines. The oil cooler itself is mounted with these 2 screws here. We're getting prepared to actually take out the automatic transmission. There's quite a few little steps that you need to do because the automatic transmission has an oil cooler, as you would just have seen. That's what we just took off. That one is laying right there. So there are lines going from the automatic transmission all the way to the front to the automatic oil cooler. We took off the oil cooler, as I just said. The lines are still on there, but we think for our car it's going to be easier if we can kind of lower the transmission a little bit, and then we can actually reach the line fittings on the transmission, because they are on the top of the transmission, so they are impossible to get to from underneath the car. So we're going to try and lower the transmission, and then we can hopefully undo the lines and take them out in a kind of normal manner. If that doesn't work, we're just going to cut them off. We don't really care, we're not going to use them anymore. Obviously, if we can sell the entire automatic transmission kit as a whole, we might still make some money on it. So it's preferable that we get them off in one piece, so someone in the future can still use them. But if it doesn't work, then it doesn't work, and we're not going to try hard to do it the right way anyway. So right now, what are we doing? Arne has a wrench on the crank pulley, and what we need to do is, from the rear of the transmission, we're gonna locate the nuts or the bolts for the torque converter, and then we're gonna get those off, and that's the first step of making sure that we can remove the transmission from the back of the engine. Okay, torque converter bolt. Oh my god. Okay, torque converter bolts are off. I must say it was a little bit nerve-wracking because you had to feed the socket through like a small hole, and then you had to like pull them off or pull them loose. And I was just thinking, if I round these bolts, then we're gonna be in a lot of trouble. So I'm glad that this went quite well. It was 3 bolts in total. And I think the next step is going to be to take out the transmission. However, I have a small fear that the actual socket that we need to use to take off the transmission from the back of the engine is a socket that I do not have. It's a very specific type of bolt or whatever, and I don't think we have that here right now. So we'll take a look at it, and that will decide if we can continue this evening or if we need to order some tools. Arnie, what's the status here? Oh, you're gone. You're down there. I was completely looking the wrong way.
I'm looking for the cables.
Looking where?
But they run through and are fixed to the transmission itself.
The shifter cables?
No, that one's loose. It's electrical wiring here. Maybe it's smart to take the electrical wires completely off, if it's possible.
Okay, good evening and welcome back to the garage. It is 10:30, it's pretty late, but we are about to take out the gearbox. Alright, so one of the biggest challenges was to actually get all the bolts out that bolt the transmission to the engine. They are all torque bolts. Yeah, we put them in a little bag. The most difficult one was a bolt that had a nut on the other side and was all the way at the top of the transmission. So we've had to take off part of the intake manifold. There's the other part, the top part. We're gonna have to take everything off from the inlet manifold when we want to put the other transmission back on, because we were able to just get in there with a screwdriver into a tiny little hole and block the nut on the other side to take the screw or the bolt out from the gearbox side, and it just worked, but getting it back in when we put everything back together is going to be impossible, so we'll have to take that off completely. However, at this very moment, we are fully ready to take off or take out the automatic transmission. And I told Aaron at the beginning of the evening, I will not film anything until we're ready to take out the transmission, because it was a lot of shit. I've told you before, this is not a tutorial, this is not a how-to series. There are tons of other guys who did that. I am not doing that, or we are not doing that, because yeah, we are not as professional as the other guys, so we're just trying to do this with what we have. But at the moment, we are ready to take out the transmission. We've got everything set up. The transmission is completely loose, or should be completely loose. So we should be able to do this. So I'm going to mount the camera at hopefully a point where you can see us take the transmission out. And then that's gonna be the moment suprême. Alright, let's give this a go. Let's give this a go.
Ja.
Je kunt ook misschien met deze proberen om deze ergens tussen te steken. Dat is echt wel iets als je gaat.
Ja, ja, hij komt los. Anders moet je hem eerst terug een beetje omhoog doen. En dan kan ik hem lostrekken. Ja, ik heb een millimeter opening.
Oké, ik ga hem hier zo ondersteunen. It probably took another 90 minutes to get to this stage, but the automatic transmission is out of the car. This is, I don't know, it's such a fucking relief, I'm gonna be honest. I'm really sorry that I didn't film more, but this thing is extremely heavy, and just trying to balance everything, and like we had to react very quickly, and I didn't have any, like, I didn't have a second to just quickly grab the camera and start filming. So we just wanted to get this thing stable. And then once it was stable, we just got it out from underneath the car because it's so freaking heavy. Like, it's unbelievable. It's so fucking heavy. I had to cut through steel lines as well with an angle grinder that connects the transmission with the oil cooler, the automatic transmission oil cooler at the front of the car. The lines were, I don't know, it's pretty weird with the European cars, I guess. But there's no way to get them off. Like, it's just shit. So we just got them with an angle grinder. And of course there was still oil in those lines, and the oil flew everywhere, all over the floor, all over my hand, all over the machine. It's like 11:30 right now, so we were making a lot of noise at this time of the night as well. So yeah, we just wanted to get it over quickly, to be honest. But the transmission is out. Oh my god. What the hell? You know, it's cold in here, but I just told Arne it's like the perfect temperature because we were grinding so hard. Anyway, yeah, temperature is perfect for doing this kind of stuff. Anyway, let's take a look underneath the car. Let's grab a light, because now, like, there's so much room for activities down there. And just like compare the size of this thing, like just look at it compared to a manual transmission. Like, the size difference is absolutely crazy. And I think with a manual transmission, the car as a whole is going to be a lot lighter, and we're going to also fit a much lighter flywheel. I think the one that we're going to fit is like 3.5 kilos or something, versus an original dual mass flywheel, which is like 11 or 12 kilos. So the engine is going to react a lot quicker, the car is going to be a lot lighter. I think when we drive this thing with a manual transmission, it's going to feel very different. Very, very different. Anyway, let's look underneath the car and look at all the room for activities. Oh, I'm very good, you little bitch. Okay, so that is the back of the engine, and then there's a transmission tunnel under here, and then at the rear we have the rear axle, to which the drive shaft bolts. Arne cleaning my floor like a good boy. Yeah, so I guess that's the flywheel. Up there we have the starter motor, and then this is the hole through which the shifter will bolt to the manual transmission, or where the automatic thing was mounted. But yeah, apparently it's much easier to fit the manual transmission back on than it is to take the automatic transmission out. So I'm looking forward to that part, of course. I ordered like 1,500 euros worth of parts for this car to get this manual swap done and to fit some good stuff to it. So yeah, we're still waiting for those. Some of the items that I ordered were on back order, so the web shop doesn't even have them. So yeah, let's continue. It's shaping up to be quite nice. I think the hardest part that I was not looking forward to was actually getting this this transmission off, which is now done. So the rest should be more fun. It's always more fun to start building it back up than to just keep taking stuff off and hacking down your car. So yeah, looking forward to it. All right, behind me you can see all the parts that we took off the E36 to make this manual swap happen. This is the part where we start putting stuff back onto the car, so this is pretty exciting. Let's take a look at all the shit that we took from this car. Alright, well, that's it. The automatic transmission and all its other parts are of the car, and we're ready for the next big step. Now it's onwards and upwards to the last stretch. So yeah, in the next video we'll have the same view but with all of the parts that we are going to put on the car. So a lot of those parts are new, a lot of those parts are exciting. We'll see you there.